I'm Matt. He's Foggy.
Who sent you?
No one says.
So what? You're just a couple of good Samaritans? Today's just my lucky day?
I bribed the desk sergeant with a box of cigars for his mom.
Hey there, enthusiasts. Welcome back to Hero Talk. I am your host, Judge Greg. Joining me today, we got a full house here on Hero Talk, and we're going to start in the upper left-hand corner of Skype with Tony. Tony, welcome back to Hero Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Going clockwise, I got Brian. Brian, welcome back to Hero Talk.
Hey.
Clockwise from Brian, I got Goose. Goose, welcome to Hero Talk.
Pleasure to be here as always.
And last and kind of least, I got Jeff from Point Streak. Jeff, welcome back to Hero Talk. All right, so today's film is not a film. We are talking about the Netflix exclusive series, Daredevil. So not Ben Affleck. So if anybody thought this was Affleck, now is the time to speak up because you watched the wrong thing. No?
Can we discuss that one at least?
We'll be drawing some comparisons to the, because there's no way you cannot draw comparisons to the Affleck Daredevil. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your view. If anybody actually listened to that Daredevil Hero Talk, I was actually a fan of that movie. So
I liked the director's cut of that.
Well, the director's cut was
theatrical.
Infinitely better. Yeah.
Oh yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and just get started because this is probably going to be a bigger episode, and the people, they don't tune in to listen to us do shtick. I mean, a little bit, but mostly not.
Just sprinkled in there.
Yeah, just a little bit in there. So let's talk Daredevil. I have to say is that Daredevil was done so well now that it really kind of makes me wish that Fox would lose all their rights and just see what can happen with the Fantastic Four. All right. So let's start with, I guess I should probably ask you guys, and then we can get more freeform. Jeff, what did you think of Daredevil? You're the Daredevil guy in the group. I should point that out to the listeners at home. Like, Jeff is the legitimate Daredevil comics fan, whereas I'm a little savvy. I've read a couple of stories. I read his first issue, so I know some of the cornier stuff. But anyway, so Jeff, what did you think?
Well, I loved it, and anyone that read my the Hero Talk, the enthusiast article that I wrote on the subject knows. Yeah, I was very effusive about my praise for this series. I think it's the best thing Marvel's ever done, including anything they've put on the silver screen. It's certainly the closest comic adaptation I've ever seen in terms of matching the tone and of the source material, and the casting is, which I'm sure we'll get to in due course, is pretty much perfect. I mean, we all have properties that we love, but there's always at least a few castings in there, that aren't great. But this is one of those rare situations where I can find really no fault with anything. Whoever did the casting for this deserves what do they do? Emmys for Netflix?
Actually, Primetime Emmys is what Netflix gets nominated for. The show actually is nominated for a few.
Yeah. Suffice to say, I loved it.
Yeah, okay. Goose, what'd you think?
Personally, this shows me a good way that you can do a comic book story without trying to smash it into a 2.5-hour movie. It allows them to better develop the characters to the point where you actually care about even the side characters by the end. You're not just worried about if the hero's going to beat the villain. You're worried about the entire gallery of characters. That's something I haven't done in a Marvel or DC, for that matter, thing in a long time. And it's great to see them take the same passion that you see in, say, a comic book, and put it into this setting.
Yeah, I think the longer episodes, it gives you more time to develop guys, Like, you don't need to rush to get Daredevil into the suit, and so you don't need to do some kind of haphazard origin. So you have time to, toss Stick in there and to get some time to establish Nelson and Murdoch.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brian, we'll go with you.
I gotta say, like, at first, I think, one of the things that bugged me. First of all, I'll just say I really, really like it, and I agree with Goose. Like, this was one of the better ways to really put in like a full story where you're developing a whole bunch of different characters, and it doesn't feel like they're all being crammed in there. And I will say, like, at first it kind of bothered me that it took so long to get to get like the devil suit ready to go. Like I was just really itching to see it, but I mean, thinking about it, that just makes sense, you know.
Mhm.
It just made so much more sense to drag it out like that, like especially since it's kind of like it's an elongated movie, like
Yeah.
it's like an HBO miniseries kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of mirroring what happened in the Frank Miller's Man Without Fear series, where he wore an outfit, a very much sort of I don't know, amateur sort of outfit like that almost looked like a jogging outfit for much of the series, and then the Daredevil
Yeah.
suit that everyone knows was kind of recognized in the last 10% of the story.
I figure as long as he wasn't wearing yellow, I was going to be happy.
I think he was wearing black jeans for I think the first suit had black jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, Tony, saving the best for last. What do you think of Daredevil?
Yes. Well, I hated it. No, not saying. No. I really enjoyed it. I actually watched it off of Jeff's recommendation. And I gotta say, I'm a pretty easy guy to please when it comes to movies. TV shows not so much. They really tend to not hold my interest, if they're not that good a few episodes in. But man, this show, it kept me guessing. I thought the writing was pretty well done for the most part. And one of the things I really enjoyed about it is that it took place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they didn't cram it down your throat. Like they just kind of made just tiny mentions to it. And even if you were someone that had never seen a single Marvel movie in the last decade, you could still jump into this show and have a great time with it. So,
it was very subtle, not overdone, and doesn't hit you over the head with it. Looking at you, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Well, that show maybe has a little more kind of pull with that. I mean, I feel like they kind of have to with that show, but with this one, it was very well done. Like just fleeting references to it.
Yeah, I mean,
tagging. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've talked to Exelon about this. I've been trying to get him to watch it, and one of his worries is it was going to be so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.y, and I said, like, basically the only real tie-in it has to the Marvel Universe is that the stuff in New York happened during Avengers, but that's about it.
They mention it, but they don't talk about it all that much. Like they'll mention it just to. I don't want to say it's like a subtle reminder that it's part of this universe, but it's like this thing happened to them and it clearly affected all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it would,
Yeah, like it would. But I mean, other than it set the stage for Daredevil to happen, but it wasn't. They don't constantly talk about it in detail. And you'll also on occasion you'll get somebody who mentions one of the other superheroes. And they'll say something along the lines of like, oh, well, you're not in a tin suit, or you don't have a magic hammer, or, I think Foggy at one point says like, well, I'm going to put wings on my head and call myself Captain America. And I thought that was pretty funny. So, and I'm okay with that because honestly, I mean, even if you'd never seen a Marvel movie before, you could appreciate the joke just for the sense of it's a Marvel Universe property. All right, so let's dive into the cast, and obviously we're going to be drawing some fortunate and unfortunate comparisons between this cast and the Daredevil flick. So let's start. I'm going to go a little out of order because I want to, and it's my show. So I'm going to actually start with Vondi Curtis Hall as Ben Urich, because I think he was probably one of the bigger changes in the Daredevil flick. It was Joe Pantoliano. I think I said that right. It's not a hero talk if I don't screw somebody's name up. So so that was a major change. It kind of had a guy who was kind of more
Weasley.
Joe Pantoliano was more Weasley. He's writing about like alligators in the sewers and stuff like that. And then you have the Ben Urich from the series, and he is like. He's older, he's more mature, but he's like he's trying to maintain relevance as an actual real reporter in the internet age.
Yeah.
And he was somebody I could really get behind. And by the way, I'm going to throw this out now before I say my next sentence. Hero Talk is a spoiler podcast. And obviously we're going to spoil this series left ways and right ways and Daredevil stories in general. So you've been warned. Fair game. Everything in Daredevil, Marvel Universe. Just getting that out there now. All right, so when he dies, I gave everyone like a good 2 seconds to turn it off. So when he dies, and I think it was the second to last episode he dies in, and, I mean, and Fisk just straight up like strangles the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And you're wondering like, how's he going to get out? What's going to happen? Like they can't kill Ben Urich. He's a major character.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and you're like, oh, nobody's safe. And it was
that
at that
speaks-
moment I realized that Karen Page has a bullseye on her chest.
Yeah, that speaks directly to what Tony said about keeping
A
guessing.
bullseye on her
Yeah.
chest.
I got it. What Tony mentioned, it's not only are they keeping people like Tony, who doesn't have any real knowledge of the source material, guessing, but someone like myself, who knows full well that Ben Urich has never, to my knowledge, died in the comics continuity, and I wasn't expecting to see him die. That was a shock, particularly because at the start of the scene he says, "I'm not here to hurt you," or whatever.
Yeah, he says like I'm not. I think he said I'm not going to hurt you for that because I believe you. You're an honorable man, and I just want to have a conversation. Is what he said.
Yeah.
So you think like it's just going to be like just a tense conversation. You don't think he's going to die.
I think he's going to be threatened.
Yeah, and that really shocked me. That's when I realized, nobody is safe. So that's why I just kind of wanted to start with him because I think that was his death. Well, towards the end was really my indication that they had free range. They could do whatever they want. So now let's go back to the guy that we really should have started with, but I needed to jump him because I wanted to talk about Ben Urich, and I had to drop that bullseye joke sooner rather than later. All right, so Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. Now, Charlie Cox, I can't think of anything else he's been in that I've seen. I don't know. Does anybody else remember him from anything?
I mentioned,
not a clue.
Yeah, I mentioned this in my article. It was one of my big concerns going into the series. He was a fairly major character in Boardwalk Empire.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's an English actor, but he plays an Irish character. And first episode, a very Irish character. First episode in, I could hear his accent underneath because I was so used to hearing his accent. I could hear him putting on an American one, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to hate this. I'm going to hear him doing an American accent." But honestly, after the first episode, I didn't notice it anymore. He slips up every once in a while, but that aside, he's the right look. I mean, Daredevil is meant to be an Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
And he's played an Irish Catholic, and he manages to do it in here quite convincingly. Apparently, he was suggested on a lark by somebody a long time ago when Marvel had the idea, back when Fox still had the rights, and they just decided to go for it. And I'm glad they did, because he's youthful enough that he could handle the I was almost said spoilers, but the college scenes. Everyone who's seen it knows that.
Yeah.
And yet he's got the physique for it, which I didn't think that he would have, but obviously he does, because he's shirtless for
he
quite a
worked
few
out
seconds.
quite a bit for this role.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he.
I saw some before shots. He was not that big before.
Yeah, no, brilliant bit of casting, and he's as strong as anyone else in this. I mean, he's on screen for a lot of the show, and you need somebody that can hold their own, and he definitely does, and he pulls off the blind thing pretty convincingly too.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, he's really good about that.
Yeah, there's a couple of times, and I don't know if this is just habit of you're an actor and you act physically, but like where like he'll sense something and then he'll look at it. Now obviously not actually looking because the character's blind, but like the character will turn his head towards it once he senses something in that direction, and it's done in a way so like we the audience knows, hey, he just sensed something from over there, so he's gonna go get it. But at the same time, like you don't actually have to turn your head towards it to look at it, Matt. You have your world on fire sense, and I guess that's my first comparison I really got to say is in the Daredevil movie. I really liked the Daredevil vision, which was like this dark bluish, and they really went about as far away from that as you could get in like this bright orangey yellowish Daredevil vision, and it was really it's
Very
still
common.
a little bit off-putting for me to see that because I'm so used to the movie version, which I loved and I think was probably the best part of that movie was that effect. So.
Well, for me, it
honestly
wasn't.
reminded me of, if you ever watched, I'm sure all of you watched the Matrix movies, the way that Neo saw things after he got his eyes burned out. Reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, for me, it wasn't so much like the world on fire vision wasn't. It wasn't because it was so different from the Fox movie. It was more like there was so much going on. It was hard for me to look at it and say, well, there's that thing over there and that thing over there.
Right.
To me, it was there was just too much going on. So like just as an audience member, it kind of bothered me.
Yeah, I mean now they don't show it an awful lot, so I can't get too down on it. So in the grand scheme of things, not really that big a deal. But yeah, I think that kind of there's a little bit of dissonance for me there, in that I really liked it. But.
Yeah, I know they showed it once, like maybe twice. So, and I think that was good enough to kind of establish, okay, this is how he sees it. And they didn't need to do it anymore after that.
Right. And I hope we don't keep seeing it. I think, like you've established, that's how he sees things. We don't need to keep showing us that. We got it. So another thing, and I guess people were kind of upset that Affleck wasn't blonde, because in the comics Daredevil's blonde. We got another guy who's not blonde. So there's some part of me that's still a little happy that people are still going to get ruffled about that. So I guess the best way to do this is we need to kind of put it out there. So what do we think? Better than Affleck?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, Goose, you don't got to get mean about it. All right.
Seriously.
Yeah, Affleck was not my problem. Was not my main problem with the movie, to be perfectly honest. He was as good a choice as they had at the time. He fit the tone of the movie. I don't think he would work in this, because they've gone for a sort of very noir tone that's close to the Daredevil comics. But,
and he's Batman.
Well, yes.
and that's the other thing. Like, thinking about it, he seemed to play the Daredevil of the Fox movie. Like, it to me, like, felt a little more like Batman. Or
he did feel a little Batman-y in that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that wasn't just me.
No, that wasn't just you. I definitely got a Batman feel from that too. So.
Yeah, with the Affleck version, I got the feeling, like Greg said, it's a good movie, but I get the feeling that he was more. I don't know really what word I'm going to look for. He was more superhero as opposed to just being a hero. Whereas with this guy, you get the idea, yes, he has heightened senses, but he's still just a man. He's not, leaping 100 feet and landing on a cross pitch perfect or something.
Yeah.
So you get that more human feel with this guy, whereas with Affleck, you feel like he could have taken 20 guys and not broken into a sweat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. He was very grounded in this. Yeah. All right. So I don't want to stay in the cast all night. We got to move on. So we're going to talk Karen Page now, played by Deborah Ann Wall. Again, somebody who I don't think I've seen in anything else.
True Blood.
Yeah, I don't watch True Blood.
Yeah, me neither.
Nope.
So there we go. She's been in some stuff I've seen, but of course, I mean, she usually just is a part actor. So yeah, she's been in CSI and My Name Is Earl and Law and Order SVU, and I've probably seen all those episodes, but I don't know. So anyway, I really liked her. Obviously going to be better than Ellen Pompeo, because she would have to be. I think Ellen Pompeo had like 99% of her role cut in the movie, and even when they showed it, it wasn't all that good.
Yeah, she had 5 lines at most?
Right. Yeah. She had barely had anything, so it was kind of nice to have a Karen Page who did something, meant stuff. I like that they didn't go all out with showing her, like, her story. Like, they make lots of references to it, but they've at least left something on the table. I loved how she played Karen Page. She made me like Karen Page. This is a character from the comics I did not like. Spoilers for the comics, but eventually in the comic books, she does eat it. Yeah. And I was happy when that happened.
Yeah, so. She's got a checkered past, and that is, I think they're, with all that hinting you mentioned, I think that's going to be story fodder in the coming seasons, which will be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they left a lot on the table for story fodder, which is nice. They didn't just try to wrap everything up in season 1 with a bow, so I was really happy about that. All right, Foggy Nelson. Now, I've made a personal point in the Daredevil movie. I loved the Affleck Jon Favreau scenes where it was just Matt and Foggy going back and forth, and I was not sure I was going to like another Matt and Foggy. But Eldon Henson plays Foggy in this, and I absolutely loved him. I love him so much. Yeah. He completely overshadowed Jon Favreau's Foggy, and he made me like Foggy. And Foggy is also not a character I like in the comic books. He's kind of a goon. I don't know if goon's the right word. He's just
goof.
Goof, yeah. He's the comic relief character almost, you know? So
I think he acted.
What was that?
Sorry. I was just going to say, I think he acted well, but the character itself, and I don't know how, well, assuming what Jeff said, it's true, I guess, more to the comic character, but he just felt very like, me, it's all me, like, I can't believe you did this to me. and like my emotions and feelings and just like all this going, like it just felt like too much at one point. I mean, otherwise he seemed like a great best friend, and he played that role very well. But yeah, the character itself, maybe the way it was written, it took me off a little bit once you got to that part of the show.
Anybody else really want Tony to play Foggy now?
and
Yes.
honestly, like that may have been part of the character arc, where because remember, like he starts off like his vision isn't so much like Matt's, where it's like let's help the innocent. Is like, okay, let's go where we can make the most money. Let's get the clients where we can make the most money. And slowly he starts to drift away from that. No, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to help the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that he knows he's friends with Daredevil, I think by proxy he's going to start getting more selfless.
Yeah, I would like to see that. He's been in a ton of stuff. I'm sure I've seen it.
He was in all 3 Mighty Ducks movies.
He was in the Mighty Ducks films, but
wow.
you think I could remember who he was in any of those movies?
Yeah, I haven't seen them in so long. Like I'm looking at IMDb. His name was Fulton Reed.
Yeah.
But he was in all 3 of them.
All 3 of them. I mean, he was in He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, Castaway, Deja Vu, Butterfly Effect.
He's a pretty young dude. Like, I think the thing I remembered him most from is the Butterfly Effect of all movies with the Ashton Kutcher movie, where he played his best friend Lenny.
He's 37.
He's 37?
So he's not that young. Yeah.
Holy cow. He looks 21 years old.
Yeah,
I know.
he's a really inspired choice.
And another thing, like his most recent work, he's in the 2 Mockingjay movies.
Who does he play in Mockingjay?
He's one of like the cameramen that's following them around.
Oh yeah,
Pollux.
That's him.
Pollux, yeah.
Wow. Well, I had no idea. Good for him, I guess. All right, so I think that's enough Foggy. So Rosario Dawson, easily the biggest name. We don't need to say what else she's been in because she's the big star. Plays Claire Temple. No, what's really weird about this, and I hate to be the comic book hipster guy, and I apologize for as self-involved as I'm going to sound right now, but for them to play her so close to Night Nurse but make her Claire Temple really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm sorry. So I guess the idea was they wanted her to play Night Nurse, but then it turns out the movie guys were like, well, we might use Night Nurse. So then they just played her like Night Nurse, but made her character Claire Temple.
Made the name different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you might be right. I know like they're either Claire Temple or Night Nurse. I'm not sure which. Like was in a relationship with Luke Cage for a little while, and that's like how they were. Like she's apparently going to be like the string that holds all the series together until they do the Defenders series.
Yeah, Claire Temple did have a relationship with Luke Cage. Yeah.
Huh.
But Night Nurse was kind of who she was playing. So they kind of amalgamated the characters. So I'm okay if she shows up in the Luke Cage series, really. Rosario Dawson's not the person I'm going to be upset seeing more of. All right, so let's go down. All right, so here's another. This was a pretty big change from the Daredevil series. Is the Kingpin, and I say the Kingpin loosely because he's never referred to as the Kingpin in any way, shape, or form in this series at all.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. So we got Michael Clark Duncan played Wilson Fisk in the movie. And we have Vincent D'Onofrio playing Wilson Fisk in the series. Now, I actually really, really liked Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin, as I like Michael Clark Duncan in everything that he was in.
I was actually thinking they were never going to be able to get a better Kingpin after Michael Clark
I was
Duncan.
thinking that. I ended up falling in love, not literally, with Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, and I think he did such a good job with him. And Vincent D'Onofrio now. And I heard that there was a lot of praise from the autistic community of all places because Vincent D'Onofrio, he's very higher functioning, but he's a little bit on the autistic spectrum. And so when he acts, he sort of puts his characters on the spectrum as well. And like he did it like his Law and Order not SVU, Criminal Intent character, which was Detective. I'm gonna try to remember without looking it up.
Major Crimes.
Robert Gorin, Detective Robert Gorin.
Detective Gordon, yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, I was right. I got it. All of you. Robert Gorin. So he got critically acclaimed for that because he played him. It was kind of a Sherlock Holmesy sort of level of on the spectrum, and in Wilson Fisk, it was almost like a very evil Detective Gorin, a very sinister, but like he played him on the spectrum. He wouldn't maintain eye contact with people. He had certain he had certain triggers that would set him off. He was
she was childlike in a way at times.
Yeah, very. It was I mean, he was just on the autistic spectrum very much. He he was very task oriented, organized because he had to create the sense of order, and he was his senses almost as an opposite to Daredevil. He was very sense focused because he needed that for a certain sense of stability. That's why he liked the rabbit in the snowstorm, and I thought he played that really well. And so I saw the autistic community, or at least those who work with the autistic community, I can't speak too much for who actually wrote the article, praised him for it's nice seeing this person who's not just the sympathetic, oh, it's so sad to be him, but it's so here he is on the autistic spectrum, and he's a very capable and evil person, a character with dimensions who has a love interest, and he has a story arc where he actually develops a romance, and it was
has agency as a character too, and isn't just a background person.
And not only that, I feel like there was some level of sympathy for him as far as his motivations. I do feel like he did feel genuine and that he wanted to make the city a better place. And his methods may have been a little extreme and off.
He had people killed, Tony. They weren't a little extreme.
I know, but let's say, but he did want to help. I felt like he really did want to see the city in a better place.
Yeah, I think he did, and that was and that comes across in his little speech when he's in the when he's in the SWAT van in the last episode, where he's just like, God, I've tried to be the good guy. I've tried to be the one helping, and you know what? I accept that I'm not.
Yeah,
and I think that's another thing. This series or this season has been as much of an origin story for the Kingpin as it has for Daredevil.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
He had as much of a story arc as Daredevil did, and it was very nice to do that. So I love how he played him.
Going back to the Daredevil movie, he felt more akin to the comic book Kingpin. He was the one sitting behind the desk sending out the minions. This guy, he felt more, I don't want to say real, but that's the only word that really comes to mind. He felt more real. Yeah. He felt more like what you'd expect a person in this guy's shoes to do. And that made it, like they said, a lot more, he's sympathetic to a point. I mean, he's still the bad guy. But, for example, I never felt bad for Michael Clark Duncan in the Daredevil film. Here, I legitimately had a little bit of sympathy for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, when everyone's dogging him to dump Vanessa, I'm like, I'm actually catching myself going, guys, leave him alone. Let him be happy. Whoa.
Yeah, I know. It's very hard sometimes when you actually do root for the guy. So,
but it's one of those things they made the people around him seem worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. And if you're going to talk about the Kingpin, we got to talk about Wesley. So in the comic books, just a little background, he's only known by Wesley. He's appeared a handful of times, and he's never been nearly as fleshed out as he was in either the movie or the series. Now in the movie, he's sniveling little sidekick. So it was a low bar, and you still got Toby Leonard Moore, who I love how he played Wesley. Wesley he went from 1 second he'd be this sincere best friend, I just want what's best for, Wilson, to, well, now I hate you and I'm going to smile while you're about to be killed and I'm going to be completely nonchalant about these horrible things that are going to happen to you. And, then he'll make some sarcastic comments. He can be sinister. He can be sincere. He brought a lot of character to Wesley. And then he got shot in the chest a bunch of times, and I realized they really are not going to have him back. Yeah. I don't know. I loved him. I guess people really don't have passionate feelings for Wesley, but I really just think they took a character who's so minor, and they made something really, really great out of him, and I liked it.
And they made his death a significant moment.
And that's the other thing. They did such a good job building up his character into someone who's really interesting to watch, and then no, they're gone. What?
Mm-hmm.
It almost makes me think of Game of Thrones or Walking Dead. Nobody's safe. There's always that chance of it doesn't matter how interesting this person is. We'll off them anytime we feel like it's necessary.
Yeah.
Well, it also goes to show you that you don't necessarily have to stay 100% to your comics continuity. You can take what was a minor character and make them something more, provided that you do it right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, you absolutely can. All right, so we're just going to go, that's the main cast. We're going to do a couple of honorable mentions of people who I just want to give a shout out to. So playing Vanessa, who is Kingpin's wife, who, unlike the comic book version of her, knows about his stuff and actually approves of it. We have, oh my goodness, Ayelet Zerer.
Yeah. She's an Israeli actress.
Yeah. So I knew her as Superman's mom from Man of Steel.
Yeah, I was gonna make some. I was gonna make some comment, but you beat me to it.
Sorry. Tony, you might remember her from Forward Unto Dawn.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Forward Unto Dawn.
But what you
Is
said
the Halo
she was
4 series?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Where was she in that?
Colonel something.
Yeah, she was. When they were going to Commander Lasky, his like drill instructor. She said she worked with his mother.
I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, she's really only there for like a scene at most, and then that's it. I think you see her dead in another scene. Sorry, spoilers for that. But
Everything's on the table in fair game, people.
I mean, I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
Right. But you said she was the mother in Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. No, she was
his
space mom.
Okay.
Yeah, not Diane Lane. I confused my fiance with that.
Yeah. No, Laura Lorvan.
Okay.
Is that right? I'm gonna have to look that up just now.
That sounds right.
Yes. All right, man. I am batting 1,000 today. All right. Let's see who else I want to. So Bob Gunton played Leland Owsley. Now everyone knows Bob Gunton as the evil warden from Shawshank Redemption.
Yep.
Fans of Hero Talk will remember him as the police chief from Demolition Man, and now he played the Owl, or who never referred to as the Owl, but just Leland Owsley.
Well, there's some speculation that his son, he called him Lee, which could be short for like Leland Jr. So like he could come back and be the Owl.
That's true. Yeah. I was surprised they killed him, just because it seemed like his plan was pretty well set for him to just be able to walk away.
Yeah,
and
it seemed pretty airtight.
It seemed pretty airtight.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, no, Wilson will still kill you.
Well, he'll kill you, and then if he knows your plan, he will move quickly to stop it.
Yeah. It was I liked how he played him. I liked that he was really kind of rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he had like those scenes where like if he was in the room, he always had to make some comment about what everyone else said, as though he was like one of the people in charge.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're the money man. No one cares what you think about this.
Oh, that makes me feel better. Oh wow. Now I'm
It's like he's like they're sitting there in Potter's little shop. And he's giving an update, and he's just making comments about everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't care what you think.
Right. And everyone knows that guy who's like, oh, we've got a little something to say about everybody. Yeah. So he's him.
Yep.
So one more character we have to mention, because I loved her in this and I thought she was great, is Wai Ching Ho. Who played Madame Gao. She did a wonderful job in this. For such a small part, she brought such strength to the character. I liked watching her. I loved watching her interact with the Kingpin.
Yeah.
I thought those were great scenes.
I believe that's an original character too.
Yeah, she was scary. I mean, even before you kind of saw her, even move a little faster than a walking speed when she hits Daredevil at that one point.
Yeah.
I was legitimately afraid of her more than I think even Fisk at some point. And it's just because of the aura around her, Not that maybe even she would do something, but just who she had on her side. Like she was pretty intimidating.
Yeah, she definitely. You got the feeling that she had connections higher than even Fisk knew about. And just, she's I'm telling you to get your house in order. Just giving you a friendly advice. Walking around, you're like, dude, you get your house in order. She's gonna kill you. She's going to have you killed.
Isn't she connected to Iron Fist?
I think she's an original character completely.
Yeah, I believe she is, but
okay. I think. Here's the thing. Like I think it's called like the Steel Serpent, the logo they were putting on the packs of drugs, and like the other world that she's talking about, like that's all connected to Iron Fist, is what I've heard.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's potential that she's from that world, but she's an original character that kind of connects.
Yeah. World. Absolutely.
Like I don't know what's the hand guys, Naboo.
Naboo, yeah.
His name. He's I don't know if he's strictly from the comics. Nobu, sorry, Nobu. No. I don't know if he's strictly from.
Are we talking Star Wars now?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I don't know if he's strictly from the comics or if he, actually had an equivalent character. But he's definitely just a hand ninja.
Yes.
So again, a character who's an original character but connects to another part of the world. Because I think the hand's probably going to show up a lot in probably Iron Fist, and I think they're still going to show up in Daredevil because we've already heard Elektra's showing up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They've even
Yeah,
cast
the
her.
writers have said Madame Gao is from the. I don't know how you pronounce this. I'm terrible at freaking this language, but Kunling, the mystical city that is where the origin of Iron Fist comes from. So good call.
Yeah, because she makes mention like she's going back home and like to China. It's like no, a lot farther than that. So
Yeah.
So anyway, so you got Elodie Young is going to be playing Elektra. Those of you who are saying like, haven't I already seen her wear red and be a ninja? Yes, she was Jinx in G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Oh yeah. I remember looking at when I saw that on IMDb.
Yeah.
And of course they're bringing in the Punisher in the next one with
Oh,
John
they have to be
Bernthal.
bringing in the Punisher. Good old Shane from Walking Dead's coming in as the Punisher.
I know, right?
Oh, is he? I didn't know this.
John
Wow.
Bernthal. How awesome is that?
That's great.
Again, another casting choice where I'm like, I had no idea until now that I've always wanted that.
Yeah. He's going to be so perfect. He's already perfect. He's already the best Punisher. No offense, Tom Jane. But...
Thomas Jane did a really good job.
Yeah.
We'd be remiss to not mention Scott Glenn as Stick as well. Although I get Scott Glenn and Lance Hendrickson mixed up all the time.
I sure do, man. I definitely thought they were the
All
other
the
guy
time.
when I was watching this. Until I looked him up for this podcast, I was like, oh, thought it was the other guy.
You know what they say about old white guys? They all look the same.
Yeah.
So.
They do say that. Yeah.
Okay, so Stick. Like I tried to look him up after I saw that one episode, and I don't. So what is he? Is he Matt Murdock's trainer in the comics, or
he's direct from the comics?
Mm-hmm.
The only major this is actually a very big difference in the comics. The training happens when Matt is like college age.
Right.
There isn't any of this. I'm abandoning you in the middle of your training as a 12-year-old sort of undertone. That is very much unique to the show, and it does add a little bit to it. But that was never part of the character in the in comics. The attitude and the forcefulness and the disagreements about style, so to speak, are all there, but not the surrogate father stuff. That's all unique to the series.
That's all. And then
I
think Stick is a very good way to kind of introduce Elektra as well, because Stick was very crucial in her origin story.
Chased.
I've got to read more Daredevil comics.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I started with the one that Kevin Smith wrote, and I've been trying to work through those.
Yeah. That was a
since, but it's been
good
slow
run,
going.
actually. The Kevin Smith's, what was it, Visionary?
No, I think it was. Oh God, hang on. Oh no, I don't have it.
I can't remember the name of it.
I can't. I read it so long ago, and then he started another series, and I think he got like 1 or 2 issues in, and then he got busy and just kind of stopped.
Well, yeah, there was like a reboot in the early 2000s, or maybe like the late 90s that he started.
Right, and then he never actually went anywhere with it.
Okay, like that was the one where like Karen comes back. Like I think this was the story where Karen died, but like Karen came back from earlier and like said she had AIDS.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the one he never finished. Okay.
Well, he finished that one. He started another one and never finished it.
Okay.
It's getting a little confusing now. So let's actually talk the character Daredevil. I'm done with the cast for right now. We can pop back to him if we run into anybody we really like. But
Can I ask a new question since we're going to Daredevil?
Sure.
So I understand. Again, this is I've seen the Affleck movie so long ago. I don't know how relatable that is to the comic or the actual character. But why the red suit with the horns? Like why is he trying to portray himself as a devil? Like I know they were trying to allude to something in the show, but I wasn't quite clear on why he wants to be running around New York trying to be a good guy, but dressed up essentially as the devil.
Yeah.
I never quite understood that.
Well, in his original origin story, it's because people made fun of him for not taking risks, and so they ironically called him Daredevil.
Right.
So he decided to adopt that mantle when he became a superhero and dressed up as the devil because devil was in the name. Now that's stupid. Okay. And there's no way around that. That's dumb.
I really liked how they did it in the Ben Affleck movie, where it was an homage to his father.
Yeah, because his father was Jack the Devil Murdoch.
Yeah.
Instead of battling Jack Murdoch. And I kind of wish they had stuck with Jack the Devil Murdoch, but I guess.
Yeah.
This way you have the priest gets to tell some good stories about the devil and stuff like that. And the priest actually got some really good scenes. Peter McRobbie played Father Lantom, and he had some powerful scenes. I'm trying to think where else I've seen him from.
I think I've seen him as a priest, possibly in something else.
I've seen him as a judge in something, but I don't know what.
Well, also, like, I mean, they never called him Jack the Devil Murdoch, but he was talking about, like Matt at one point does talk about how his dad was a boxer, and if he took a hit the wrong way, he'd like get this kind of glazed look in his eyes, and he'd fight like he had the devil inside.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt weird to me. Like, after he gets the suit for the first time and then he's in the papers, they're like, I guess now they're calling him Daredevil. But it just, I don't know.
Not
I found
the
it
devil.
weird.
Yeah, that jump.
Exactly.
Especially when he was just called the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, and then he's like, well, now I'm going to. And apparently it was just, he was named that way just in the officer's report. It's like, what do I call you? Like, I just made up a name and now that's stuck. It was, it did not feel natural. It was almost like, okay, listen, this character's been around for a long time and he's called Daredevil. That's what we got to call him. Just everybody hit the I believe button and we can all move on with our lives.
Yeah, it was definitely it definitely felt forced.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. But, I mean, given that happened in the last 2 minutes of what was an otherwise flawless series, I'm not going to poke too many holes in it. All right.
It was still good to watch that little beatdown.
Yeah. You know what I really like about how he's portrayed in terms of his Daredevil is that, because there's, in his original comic line, and I don't know how much of this they fixed, like, when his other senses are enhanced, they almost overpower him to a ridiculous extent. Like, I think at one point he said in the original runs, like back from, I think, the 60s, is that he didn't need Braille to read because he could sense the vibrations through the paper and knew where the ink was.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
he knew what color his suit was when he was making it because he could sense the difference of how things vibrated through it or something like it was really weird and obviously written by somebody who didn't actually understand sound propagation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like that you try to, like, give him some extra powers, but I like in this series, and they even did this in the movie too, like, we tone it down a little bit. It's not going to be Daredevil and he senses everything, and even sometimes in the comics, like in the modern comics, he can be a little overpowered, where he's just like, oh, I heard this person's heartbeat from across town that I've been looking for, so I know how to track them now from, across New York City. Like, okay, come on. I understand you got good hearing, but you can't detect one single heartbeat over all of New York City.
Or he's a bomb sniffing dog all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
but I thought that was a really cool use of his power. Even hearing a single heartbeat in the room as an indicator of someone telling the truth or lying. I thought that was pretty well done. I mean that because I'm pretty sure that is a part of polygraphing. His heart rate. Yeah, so I mean that makes sense. That was a really kind of cool show of his power, and it's not like unbelievable. It's not too supernatural, I guess. I mean, I'm sure normal deaf people can't do that, but I guess it's not too too big of a stretch of the imagination, if that makes sense. But
yeah, I mean, if like a normal person were to, let's say, go for a really strenuous exercise and then stop in a quiet room, they could hear their heart beating. So it's not far fetched to think that a guy with super hearing can hear a normal heartbeat in a room with like low murmurs.
Right, and it was straight from the Ben Affleck one too, so I'm kind of okay with it, and I'm sure he does that in the comic books all the time.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah. Particularly when it's courtroom related stuff. That's just that is like a cliche. You've seen that scene in Daredevil many times.
And unfortunately, so in the movie Daredevil, they had a really bad idea of what lawyers do. Because like in the one case he's like, is he a defense attorney? Is he a prosecutor? Is this a civil case? And he's like, it was really kind of, they didn't know how law worked. Whereas they were more consistent with this one in terms of what these guys were in terms of attorneys and how they represented people and who they represented and what kind of law they practiced. So I was a bit appreciative of that. Now speaking of law school, because this got a little weird. How old is Daredevil supposed to be?
I got the impression that they were almost not straight out of college, because they showed that they were at that internship, but you figure you're interning either while you're in school or just out of. So
that's what was weird to me, Tony, is because he was trained by Stick when he was like 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. And then Stick leaves for 20 years. And at first I thought it was a figurative 20 years, but they actually make mention it was 20 years. And then he comes back. But these guys were in law school, like their first year of law school was 2010, and this story takes place in 2015. So you're like, did they not start did Matt not start law school till he was like 24, 25? And then don't you start law school basically as soon as you're done with pre-law?
Not always. I
Okay.
mean, and
Not necessarily.
yeah, I mean, I think in some cases you like there are some who do, like, and I know this because my fiance is applying to law school.
Okay, all right. So
but
we're going to consult the expert here.
there are actually some schools that won't take you unless you have work experience in like whatever kind of law you're going to.
So you'd have to like
you're
work
gonna try to
somewhere as a
study.
paralegal for a certain number of years.
Maybe, or like if he was gonna maybe if he was gonna try for corporate law, he'd have to like go work at a company for a little while before he goes to before he goes to law school. I mean, most actually don't require it, but it's not uncommon.
Okay. Or maybe he just did it to help his transcript. I don't know.
That's another thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So maybe they did. Anyway, so there we got that going. I was kind of trying to pinpoint it because when they do get some age points on them, and so I guess this puts Matt Murdock at about 29, and maybe Foggy's even younger because Foggy didn't do that.
And maybe they rounded up from 18 to 20 just for the
yeah,
as
maybe
people do.
Yeah. So that was just my only question on that. We don't need to linger on how old he is. Dude, now. Remind me, and without getting too spoilery here, Jeff, but in the comics, his mom is a nun, isn't she?
Yeah, she's still alive and is not really a part of his life, except here and there. There's brief periods of contact. I'm not familiar with the story of why she left his father and all that.
I can tell you.
She is a nun.
I can tell you. So there was a comics run called Original Sin where the Watcher was killed and someone took one of his eyes. So what they did is like if you like exposed it, or I forget exactly what this guy did, but basically everybody on Earth suddenly got like a flash of like some kind of secret that somebody else has been holding from them or something like that. So with Daredevil, it was these flashes of something that happened with his parents when he was just a baby. And the way he saw it was his dad attacked his mom, and so she left.
Was he drunk?
Well, here's the thing. He didn't get a whole lot of the details, so he tracked down his mom to try to figure out what happened there. And she said what had actually happened was she started to have postpartum depression. She attacked his dad, and he defended himself and Matt. And when she realized what she was doing, she left.
Oh, that's much nicer. Now I don't have to hate Jack Murdock.
Well, that was my
There's
reaction.
a happy
too.
ending
Like,
to that story.
That was my reaction too. I started it going, "Oh my god, I'm gonna hate Jack Murdock by the end of this," and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not." Okay.
No, all right. So we're good. We're cool there. All right. So we've spent a lot of time already talking about cast and people in it, but let's hit some major story arcs. Now, Wilson's Fisk's plan seemed. I mean, ultimately all he really wanted to do was take Hell's Kitchen, and I don't know. Is that a real neighborhood in New York?
It is,
I
yes.
think so. Yeah.
Do they call it Hell's Kitchen as often as they call this Hell's Kitchen, or is that just like a nickname?
They really beat on that constantly. It's
Yeah.
definitely called that. It's not nearly as large as you would think for all the running around they did. It's actually I don't think it consists of much more than about 9 blocks or something. It's like the Garment District and all these other places. It's a reasonable size.
Yeah,
but,
I've been there.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the Ben Affleck movie, they said he said that they call it Clinton now, like the ones who were trying to sell property in the area.
Yeah. Which
So like, who wants to live in Hell's Kitchen?
Well, on their evening news, they call it Hell's Kitchen, which was a little weird. They really wanted to make sure you understood that that's where it was. But
these days it's been pretty gentrified. It doesn't have the reputation it did in the 30s and 40s.
I know, like, that's the thing. But anyway, well, the way they get around that is because now that it's been gentrified, then all of a sudden, the Chitauri fall out of a portal in the sky, and they get to smash the thing back to.
Yeah.
So you have that going for. Like, I mean, ultimately, he just wanted to sort of renovate Hell's Kitchen. Honestly, I guess I don't see why like the renovating of Hell's Kitchen needed him to get involved in human trafficking and heroin.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to something
Yeah.
Brian was saying when he was in the back of the van. He said, "I tried being the good guy." They show the flashbacks of when Fisk was a kid and his dad was actually trying to run for office and trying to do it the right way, and it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure maybe even Fisk tried to do things the right way, the good way, and I guarantee you it probably didn't work. So he said, "I still have this dream, I still have this vision, I want to do it, but being the good guy, doing it the right way is not going to work." then that's why I'm not agreeing with him. I'm just saying that's probably why he went down the route of human trafficking and drugs and all that, just to get the finances in order to do it.
He was never okay with the Russians and their practices. Like his part of his ultimate goal was like, once I have this all taken care of, once I have all the power that I need, I'm going to get rid of the Russians. I think he just did it a little faster than he originally wanted to,
and a little more brutally than I think he originally planned.
Yeah, just a bit.
I don't remember which one it was. Was it Anatoly? Yeah, it was Anatoly, right? Because Sergei's the other one. Or am I getting those?
Yeah,
I don't know which is.
Am I just saying random Russian names right now?
They'll do.
I know Anatoly was definitely one of them. I think Sergei was another one.
Yeah, I think Anatoly's the one who he slammed his head in the car. One of the most brutal scenes I've seen.
Oh yeah, but that was the one where like I saw that and I went, okay, they're not messing around here.
Yeah, that I saw that and I'm like, all right, not for kids.
Yeah,
I've definitely, when I've recommended this to people, I've said, by the way, seriously, not for kids.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, because that was pretty brutal. And then so the next day Wesley shows up to talk to the other brother. He's just so blasé about hey, where's your brother? We need to find him.
Oh my God.
It's like, you were there. You set him up. You're a punk.
No, yeah, he's a sociopath.
Yeah, who knows his wine, let me tell you, though.
Oh, yeah?
So that's the beautiful part of Wesley, is at the one hand he's like, wants his friend's date to go well, so he tells him what wine to choose. On the other hand, he sets up a horrible assassination of a Russian mobster, so.
Yin and yang.
Yep. One of my favorite characters. I'm sad he's dead. Although, man, that scene where Karen shoots him, that was a powerful scene.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Yeah, that was absolutely. I mean, his little diatribe about like, do you love this city? I mean, do you really love it? Like, and he's like, honestly, I don't. I really don't. I don't get it. It's filthy. I hate it. It was almost, you got sort of an Agent Smith feel from that.
Yeah,
speech.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if we can talk about that scene for a second too.
Mm-hmm.
When he puts the gun on the table, and I'm like, why? Because she wasn't handcuffed, right? So so obviously she grabs for it, and then he's like, do you really think I'd keep a loaded gun on the table? And turns out, yeah, because when he said that, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You maybe wanted to give her make her think that she could get out of it, but no, lo and behold, it was loaded. I believed him when he said it wasn't loaded.
Yeah.
But
I believed him too.
Was.
I totally did. And then she shot him, and you're like, holy crap,
Wow.
I just killed Wesley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that just goes to show like how cool he is under pressure. It's like he brought a loaded gun to kill her, and didn't know she was going to make a move. It's like, all right, I'm going to try to bluff my way out of this.
Yeah.
And she called him.
Yeah, what an awesome scene that was. I mean, there was more development for Karen Page in that scene than in probably her last 10 years or so in the comics.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm trying to think if there's another. You know what? I think my favorite episode has to be episode 2. I think that was called The Cut Man. And that was the episode when Rosario Dawson found Daredevil like in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cut Man was the name of the episode. The whole thing about like when he's torturing that dude on the roof, like that was absolutely brutal. Like, and the guy is screaming and he's like cutting into his eye. I don't even know if that nerve is really there. But I would say I wouldn't wait for them to cut me to find out. I'd be like, hey, you know what? You know what?
All right, I'll talk.
Why don't we take the knife away from my eye, and then I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Yeah, I think when it comes to eyes, everyone's just super squeamish.
And that episode's capped off by a fight sequence that is just like as good as
a cinematic masterpiece, and there's no other way to say it.
Before we get to that fight scene, though, what is it that he says after he drops the guy off the roof, and he says something like, I do enjoy doing this or something, or I can't.
I think when he takes the guy to the edge, he's like, I just want you to know, I don't do this just to bring down your boss. I also do it because I enjoy it.
Right.
Because he's trying to kind of let the guy know, like, well, you can try to be like a tough guy, but I'm just going to find another guy and do it, and you're not going to wear me down because I like what I do.
Right. Well, I found it interesting that, he comes back and, what's her name again?
Claire.
Dawson. Yeah,
Zero
oh yeah.
does.
She's like, I don't really believe that. And I think she mentions it again when she's trying to help save the Russian. She's like, I really don't believe that. But I don't think he ever actually responds to that. He kind of just looks at her, and it kind of made me question, like, does he kind of deep inside actually sickly enjoy this? Because he doesn't he never comes out right and says, "You're right."
He
No,
kind
I
of
just said that.
addresses that to a point with the priests
Mhm.
in a very sort of like guilty, like uncertain way at a later point. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much that I think he. I guess I would think he would never contradict her in front of the Russian because he wants them to think that
Right.
he enjoys it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah.
But I would like, so I think that maybe he doesn't want to enjoy it, but I think maybe deep down, like, there's something inside him that's like, this feels kind of good.
Mhm.
Okay. Now we can get to the fight scene.
Yeah.
Just want to
No,
The
cinematic masterpiece. I love it. And
The
then
single shot hallway fight scene. Oh my god, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was good. Now, it was a hidden cut, single cut, because it wasn't actually single cut. They hid the cuts and like going in and out of doors, which is brilliant. Because I mean, it makes it look like it's all one shot, which it couldn't possibly be, and I don't think it was. But you hide the cuts, and it looks exactly like it was going to be, but it was still absolutely beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah. Just so well choreographed, and
you believe that he's this guy, and he's a normal guy. He just has good senses, who can fight, and he's tired, and he's beat, and he's been bleeding all night, and he's got bruised, cracked ribs, and he's just like he's been beat half to death. He's just like, I gotta get this kid, even if I'm gonna die doing this. I have to try to get this kid back, and that's when they cemented the character. That's when, I loved the first episode. I came back, but after that fight scene, that fight, it was the last thing in the episode, and then it's done, and they start playing the credits, and I'm watching the theme song, and that's what I sit there and think to myself, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, I think with the first one, it was set up, his powers, his abilities, his strength, his speed. The second one was kind of a reminder that he's still human. Like he's not a super soldier.
Yeah.
He's still like, his body is still just like a normal human being. It's his senses that are heightened.
Yeah,
right.
It was such a phenomenal episode.
It was.
Yeah.
The one thing I appreciated about that scene, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but again, since it was mainly just that hallway scene, you heard what was going on. Like, you could hear things shattering and people getting hit. I thought it was kind of a cool play to the fact that he's blind, but he can hear so well. So it's like, as the viewer, you can hear what's going on and kind of play in your mind what's happening in that room.
Yeah.
Just by I thought that was a really kind of cool play on that.
I really loved when he just threw the microwave at the guy.
I love that. Oh, man. That was a good one. All right, so now we have to go to my least favorite episode, and I'm gonna go ahead and apologize in advance for this. I hate Stick. I don't like him. Now maybe this is just a tribute to the character, because I don't like Stick, and I'm like, well, you're not supposed to like Stick, but like all his interactions with him when he was a kid, I don't know. That wasn't doing anything for me.
Well, he was just a dick to a 12-year-old.
He was 9-year-old, actually.
Or 9-year-old. Again, that makes it even worse. It's like,
I don't know why I said that. Like, a 9-year-old Brian.
Well, I mean,
not like he was 12.
Even the toughest drill sergeant knows, like, with a kid, like, they're emotionally fragile, especially orphans.
Yeah.
They're emotionally fragile, and they're going to need a little building up before you can break them down, anymore. He goes straight for the breakdown, just insulting him right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
You think this is going to help?
That's meant to be a young adult in the comic continuity, so it is
Yeah.
odd that they didn't sort of take a slightly different angle with that.
Like, if it was in college, I would understand it, because, a young adult could bounce back a hell of a lot better than a little kid could.
Yeah, it made me not like Stick, and I guess I'm not supposed to like Stick, but isn't Stick supposed to be somebody I should somewhat be behind? He's from the Order of the Chaste. I mean, the Hand of the bad guy, but I guess we live in a world where there really aren't good or bads as much as shades of gray.
Yeah.
And
that episode definitely, I agree with Greg, it definitely made me not just not like Stick, I actively hated Stick, because, like y'all said, this is a little kid, man. It's just not kosher.
Yeah.
I think he's meant to be one of those, like, he's not a bad guy, he's just an unlikable good guy, and that may be exactly how they wrote him.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think we need to get to everyone else's least favorite episode, which was Nelson v. Murdoch.
The one where they're just sitting around in his apartment and they reminisce about college.
Yes.
Me and my feelings. It's all about me.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, Foggy got so annoying in that episode. I was glad when he finally came around, but it was still like, really? You're gonna be this selfish after the way you were with Mrs. Cardenas?
Right. Not to mention he's probably like half dead. You know, you're gonna.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You're gonna bitch and moan about the secret he kept from you. It's like he's kind of dying right now.
Hey, you come back to consciousness. I need to yell at you more.
To me, it was the one aspect of the series that felt rushed. In the comics, the Foggy comes to term with the Matt Daredevil duality a lot more time, and there is fighting and there is disagreements and there is like the hint of why didn't you trust me, why did you betray me, but the fact that they had to sort of cram that into an episode meant that it swung rather violently emotionally in certain directions, and I think that's why Tony reacted the way he did in particular with the me.
Yeah.
I think if they had drawn that out, and yet of course you can't draw that out in a series like this. You've kind of got to get past that. You do need to set up that Foggy is one of the people that's important to the Daredevil continuity, that Foggy is one of the people that know, but you haven't got a lot of time to have Foggy come around. So yeah, I kind of get why that seemed jarring, and it is the weakest episode, I think, as a result of that.
I do. Although I will say for the rest of the series, like it never really felt like he had yet fully embraced the idea of Matt being Daredevil. Like he still seems very uneasy about it, but he's just willing to go, okay, fine, you're going to do this. I'm your friend. I'll support you.
And I think that will carry over in little ways into the next season. I just hopefully there's a little bit of more of the camaraderie and the humor back in the relationship too, because if that combativeness has to stay, well then that's one of the centerpieces of the show and the comics will be missing. So they've got to get past that at least, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other episodes people specifically want to talk about or specific points? Because otherwise, we need to move on to a little bit more. Take a step back and talk about a little bit more Daredevil in terms of the bigger universe, and then get to the Hero Talk staples.
Yeah,
well,
I have
Fisk
one thing.
introduction was a good one, but I think we've covered most of the great things about that.
Yeah. All right, Tony, what was yours?
With Karen. I don't know why it seemed a little weird to me. You know, when Daredevil comes and saves her before he has, in like the first or second episode from the thug that's trying to kill her.
Oh, the guy with the knife.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that like you would know exactly who that was. Oh yes, that one guy with a knife in all those 13 episodes.
Well, most of the other ones have guns, but yeah. So, and when they're interviewing her, when she's in the police station, she's like, I know literally like no one in the city. I just went out for drinks with this one guy. Like, I know no one in this city. And then this happens. She's like, oh my God, I wonder who it is. It's such a mystery. I don't know. Then come to find out, her and Foggy keep calling him like every night when something big is going on, and he never answers and he never shows up. And then she also becomes very intuitive and very inquisitive when she's researching these things. So she never even once comes to think that maybe, he's Daredevil. Like, she never has that thought. I don't know. I just found that a little weird. For the maybe one of that she portrayed.
It may have been she didn't care enough. It was, to her, it was enough. This guy is around doing good things. I don't care who he is.
Yeah. Plus, she totally buys into Matt being blind.
Yeah.
Although there's the other thing: the priest totally buys into Matt being blind, and the priest totally figured out who he was. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not an idiot. I know who you are, or I know what you do. Yeah. I don't know how you do it, but I know that's what you do." So
yeah.
I just think in comics the glasses are a perfect disguise, much like Clark Kent. When he gets the Matt Murdock shades on, instantly you can't tell who he is.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention he's got a full-on cowl, that covers up his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Because he doesn't need to. Now, can Charlie Cox see with that thing on? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I would hope maybe it's like kind of a two-layered mask, like you got one layer that's complete, but underneath is a second layer where his eyes are exposed and he can see through that. Or he may have to guess the whole way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Voice
Seems
hearing's
like
just that good.
those fight scenes would be a little difficult otherwise.
They
Yeah.
might darken the mask in post too. I wouldn't be surprised in this day and age if they could pull that off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like with Deadpool, you know, with what they've got
Yeah.
coming up there is like his like the actual mask, you know, he can see through that. There's like eye holes in it, but in post they made the eyes white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The comic back then.
So maybe there's that. So yeah, that's a good point to bring up that she never quite figured it out, and he's never there whenever they call him. Even though the one time when they were super drunk,
door, banging on his door.
that man. How funny was that though? I loved that when he's like, "I drank the eel."
I drank the eel. We're going to the fish market.
That was funny. I liked Foggy. I think they did a good job with him. One other character who I think we maybe just at least need to bring some kind of lip service to is Marcy Stahl. I can't believe Foggy dated her. Like seriously though.
She must have needed to get something from him. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Man, she seems like she would be way out of his league.
Foggy's
That's
got
what I
game.
was thinking.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Foggy comes from money. No, he can't. He's poor. He's broke. He doesn't have. I don't know. I don't
Must
know. You
have
know what?
something.
Let's stop. I don't even want to think about that anymore. No.
You're gonna give yourself a headache.
Yeah. Let's move on. All right. So.
But yeah, I mean, one of the scenes like that I really loved. I mean, to me, it was a big reveal of the suit and the subsequent fight. Like you kind of seen his fighting style evolve as the show went on. You know, he went from just bare fists to incorporating the billy clubs, and you know, it just gets more and more stylized, like less boxer, more more superhero, and then like he's just standing there, you know, in that armor, and just he's small compared to Fisk, but he still looks pretty imposing. And I loved how they still had Fisk go toe to toe with him with it, which is I think something Fisk did a lot when like, all right, everyone else has screwed this up, I'm going to do it myself.
Right. And I mean that was really brought to light in the fact that Fisk completely owned him, and I think it was in the Speak of the Devil was that episode where I mean Fisk just demolished him when they met, and he was like he got so disappointed. And the funny thing about it was that honestly Fisk could have just ended it right there if he just didn't get so full of himself that he would just walk away and try to let somebody else pull the trigger and finish it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the suit. And I'm glad you bring up the suit because this brings up something that actually still bothers me to this day. So he goes to pick up the suit, and Melvin, who I think is Gladiator from the comic books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Making sure I knew who that was.
Melvin Potter shooting buzzsaws around.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty neat when he threw the buzzsaw. I'm like, because that's when I put it together. When he threw that, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Mr. Potter. Wait. So, anyway. He specifically tells Daredevil, he says like, hey, I didn't get a chance to finish it. And the red parts, you know, might stop a knife at the right angle, might not. First of all, Matt doesn't know which parts those are, so he's really just taking that on his word. Second of all, is I can't help but stop and think about it like, so, you're gonna go back and let him finish that, right? Because he's like, I think it's perfect. I'm like, okay, but you didn't say anything like, well, we can get to that later, or you know, we'll try in another set. He's kind of like, it's perfect. I'm like, no, it's not perfect. Remember, the red parts don't have the same protection, including the chestal area. That's a pretty big area. You want that protection in, Matt.
Now I do remember like they've been showing off like pictures of the new suit, you know, on the internet, but I haven't had a chance to put them side by side. But he may have taken it back.
I hope he takes it back. He better take it back. The suit wasn't done.
I think it's an excuse to allow the suit to evolve a bit over the course of the series.
That's a good point.
I think it's a nod to the comics potentially, as long as they don't go the yellow route, Greg. Like
as long as it's never yellow.
No.
Yeah.
I think there were a few times. I think there were a few times in the comics where like someone mentions his yellow suit, and he's like, "Yeah, I was going through a phase."
Yeah. I was blind. All right.
Why didn't you guys tip me off sooner? Made fun of me for a decade.
They told me it was black. I had no idea.
So the one thing that the one lingering question I still have about the series, like even like having watched it twice, what in God's name did Nobu need that one building for? Because he was pretty insistent about that. It was all like, it was even like marked it was even marked on a map. And he's like, I want this one. Get me this one.
I imagine it's some center for demon summoning, ritualistic, whatever the hand does.
I guess, but I mean, yeah, that is what they do. But yeah, I mean, it was just never fleshed out at all. Like they just kind of dropped it.
Yeah, I mean, the hand still got it, so maybe we'll get to see some of that in the sequel.
This show's attention to detail so far has been so good that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until I start seeing threads dropped. So far, I haven't been disappointed. So
yeah, so I think we'll probably see something go on with that where that'll become important later on. And the what they call it, the Black Sky. That had to be the demon kid, right? Like that, all the times when like Styx like, well, that's not a little kid, and how hard it is to get one, and like the way that he was like shipped in there and it's all chained up, like that's got to be like just a demon kid.
Yeah,
it could have been.
So.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so Daredevil, in the grand scheme of things, we're gonna get another series, but he's meant to be like a part of. There's a few of these coming to Netflix. There's Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, and they're all gonna come together to be the Defenders. Does Jessica Jones have any powers? I don't know what her story is. I'm so lost.
I have no idea. I thought she was the White Tiger, possibly.
No, hang on. I looked it up once. Let me look it up. She does have like some kind of abilities. But it's very subtle. Let's see. Jessica Jones.
She possesses superhuman strength, but it's never really been quantified what she can do. Like, she can lift a car, but, for example, she can't stop a moving train. It's that kind of deal.
Oh. Seems like I don't want superpowers in my Defenders, but then again, I'm going to get Luke Cage, so...
Yeah, I think now that I think about it, her powers are very similar to Luke Cage, like she goes by Diamond or something. Or something like that.
I don't.
Here we go. Jewel, Nitrous, and Power Woman. So she also has like the impervious skin.
Nitrous.
No.
As in like night, the female knight. Night, yes. K-N-I-T-G-T. Not nitrous as in
not
oxide.
nitrous oxide.
not tank strapped to the bottom of faster.
Anyway, I think we'll just hopefully they just call her Jessica Jones, but I think that's what they're calling.
I think they will. I mean, that's what the show's called. Now, her original series was actually called Alias.
Right, which confused me because that made me think of Jennifer Gardner. Which then made me think Elektra, which then brought me back to Ben Affleck, which then brought me back to Daredevil. So
it's separate from the Jennifer Garner TV series, but it was called Alias. But because of that TV show, it was famous and popular. It's like, okay, we're just gonna call it Jessica Jones.
All right, that's.
Actually, I think it's called AKA Jessica Jones is the official title.
Okay, and anyway, so all of these people are coming together to be in a Defenders miniseries, which I'm curious to see how that'll all work out because, I mean, they're following the Avengers formula just with Netflix.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see all of these people show up in Secret War. I don't know.
Maybe I could see it happening.
Daredevil did it was a very minor role, but he was definitely involved with the Civil War. But it was just like Captain America's little group of secret Avengers that was running around still fighting crime. While Shield was trying to stop them.
Yeah, there've been some leaks, and per Hero Talk rules, since they haven't been officially released, we're not gonna spoil them because they were not considered fair game, but there's been some leaks in terms of what the teams for Civil War is going to be, and there were some notable absences on that list, so I'm curious, and maybe we might see Daredevil.
The only ones they put up were the confirmed cast members. There's still like the secret ones that they haven't put out.
So we might still see some stuff, but anyway, let's not even almost spoil that. And one more thing before we talk about the Hero Talk staples, I think, and this is extremely important, and I need to confirm this before I praise it. There was no Stan Lee cameo anywhere in this, was there?
Yes, no, there wasn't. But I was going to mention that, but I didn't.
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so done with the Stan Lee cameo. I know people love it, but I am so done with it. I don't want him to cameo on anything else again. He got his Daredevil cameo when young Matt Murdock saved him from getting run over in the movie.
Yeah.
So
wait, hang on, no, wait. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. No, I was thinking like he jumped in front of the truck, like.
No, it's when he wasn't paying attention and he just put up his walking stick to stop him from walking.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot they changed up the truck scene.
Yeah.
It was actually a forklift.
Yep, it was a forklift. Anyway, all right. So, let's now talk about what our favorite part of Daredevil was. So we got a whole series to choose from. So no shortage of material here. And Tony, I'm gonna start with you.
Oh man, I was hoping you'd save me for last. I kind of got to think about it. But,
All right, Brian, you're up.
I think my favorite part is gonna have to be like the last fight scene, like when he first shows up in that suit, and he's just like he's finally throwing the billy clubs around.
Yeah, the suit looked pretty cool. I'll say that.
Well, the suit and just like the style, he's throwing the billy clubs around there. It's ricocheting off walls in the truck, and it looked like everything I had been wanting to see the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, just like that fight with Wilson Fisk, it was exactly something like I'd expect out of the comics.
All right, that's fair. All right, Goose, we'll go with you.
Mine, I honest to God forget what episode it's in, but it's the very first time that we see Fisk actually just lose it. Because up until then, you get the idea like, okay, he's going to be a mobster. That's going to be, and then you're just like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
The car door on the guy's head.
Oh, yeah. When he beats up the Russian,
That's it. Yeah, this just went to a whole other level.
Yeah, I think that was episode 4 in the blood, but don't hold
I think you're right.
Yeah. All right, so Jeff, what was your favorite part of the Daredevil season 1?
It's a long sequence, but basically it starts in the street with Matt following the blind courier to try and find the drug den, through to him getting into the suit and actually going in there and kicking a bit of ass. I like the mix of you getting to see him on the street being himself but using his abilities, and then getting to see him sort of cut loose doing a bit of stealth action in the drug den. I liked and that reaction of when all the blind people are kind of you don't know what's going to happen to all of them. That was a bit unexpected that they would actually, sort of turn on him to defend themselves.
Yeah. That was very well done. And plus, a nice Madame Gao scene, too.
Yes. Yeah. That was a very different confrontation than a lot of the other ones, but nonetheless very powerful. And
I think I actually got like scared during that scene when all the blind people start panicking and closing in on him.
Yeah, that was freaky. I got a very Batman Begins-esque feeling from that when he gets like all the fear gas people. All right, Tony, we've given you some time. What was your favorite part?
I think I definitely enjoyed that scene with Fisk as far as him smashing the scene, only because I thought I had a good handle on who he was as a character until I saw that, and I was like, yeah, that all got thrown out the window. Well, this is something completely new. But no, beyond that, actually, I know the one episode that kind of had me on the edge of my seat was when he's in the warehouse with the Russian, and he's like trying to save him essentially and get out of the warehouse. I was like, are the cops actually going to take him in, or and they're going to vilify him, or it just kind of really spoke to his character, I think. And speaking with Fisk for the first time, it's like first time he's getting to speak to Fisk, he's in a bad place, and he's trying to get out. And it was just a very tense episode, but I liked it. It was very well done.
That was that had that scene, that horrible but powerful scene where they find like the cop that he tied up, and they just shoot him because they don't want anyone having a story about him that isn't controlled. So since he wasn't one of theirs, they just shot the kid or knifed him in the throat.
They knifed him. Yeah. Did anyone else notice the Daredevil, or not Daredevil, the Bullseye Easter egg in that episode?
No.
So and I had to read about this after the fact because I didn't really know this was his thing, but like the sniper that's setting up on the roof and getting ready to shoot the cop, he pulls out a deck of cards and just puts it to the side of his bag. So it's kind of hinted that is Bullseye.
That's interesting. So
didn't see that. No.
So then maybe he didn't miss when he actually hit the cop on the shoulder.
Well, yeah.
Because he never misses. Don't you remember Colin Farrell? I never miss. So is Bullseye confirmed for season 2?
No, there were rumors that it was going to be Jason Statham, and then Statham mouthed off about Marvel, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're not getting that.
Which is odd, because Statham actually wanted to play Daredevil at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
Cockney Daredevil, just what we need.
Yeah. So I'd like to see Daredevil, or no, obviously I'm going to see Daredevil in season 2. I think that's
Bullseye.
safe. I want to see Bullseye. Yeah. All right. So my favorite part, we've already talked about it, and it's not really going to be anybody's surprise. I like the fight scene at the end of episode 2 when he gets the kid out of the basement. That was my favorite part. Like in all whenever they premiered this, they always showed episode 1 and 2 together. So I mean, just imagine that like you're going to see this thing and like, well, let's see if this is going to work, and that's the last thing you see before they raise the lights and like, so what do you think? Do we got something good going for us here? And like everyone's just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I hear that when Charlie Cox read the first 2 scripts, and he's like, these are the best scripts I've ever read for anything. And I mean, I can't believe how powerful that last scene was. So absolutely, that has to be it for me. All right, so now we got to score this one. Bearing in mind that scores are worthless and mean nothing, and they're only for people who don't care about the reviews.
And with that in mind,
now it's very important that we give this guy a score. So I'm gonna start with you, Jeff. What would you score Daredevil the series season 1?
I will give this a 5 out of 5 cufflinks. I don't throw out perfect scores very often, but for me, this, like I said up front, this is as good a job as Marvel's done. If the movies were as good as this, I'd probably care more about that continuity overall, to be honest. And,
if the movies were as good as this, I wouldn't have a podcast.
well, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's fair. All right, Goose. What about you?
I would give this 666 out of 10.
All right. Brian,
nice.
how about you?
10 avocados at law out of 10.
10 avocados at law. Now, I was hoping we'd work that in there, and I was really starting to worry, like, how are we going to get avocados in here? So glad you said something. All right, Tony, what would you give Daredevil?
I wish I had something clever. I really don't. I'll just have to score it perfectly too. It's 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, however you wanna pick it.
All right, and for
Nothing
me,
clever.
I give Daredevil a rabbit in a snowstorm.
Just can't stop watching it.
Just can't stop looking at it. It calms me. It soothes me. I want to see it first thing when I wake up in the morning.
That is awesome.
Does it make you feel alone?
It does, but it's either romantic or very sad. All right. All right, so there we go. Guys, hey, you know what? Big hero talk, big supersized hero talk for Daredevil. Deserved every minute of it. Thanks, everyone, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. If you want to hear more podcasts, see Let's Plays, videos, reviews, you should go to enthusiacs.com and check out our content there. You can also catch us on YouTube. The channel is Enthusiacs. We are on Twitter, Enthusiacs. We are Facebook, Enthusiacs. We are not on Instagram. I'm going to keep saying that because we're not on Instagram.
People keep asking.
Sure. People keep sending me emails.
Well, again, we just don't we don't put up enough pictures, you know?
Yeah. Although, to be honest, actually, I did check the Hero Talk at enthusiacs.com. We got a brand new email today. It was for a little chip that you put on like your kid so that you can find them when they're lost. I'm not making this up. It's an actual email to the Hero Talk account. So, hey, if you want to sell me any more baby LoJacks, or if you want to see a movie, you can send an email to herotalk at enthusiacs.com. All right, but until then, I will see all of you right back here for the next Hero Talk.
I think the interesting question is, what would Daredevil have done with the Salt Lick?